In Azul, we have these 4 orientations that are really helpful on the dance floor. They support our movement on the dance floor, but they also really support our movement in life. So the first orientation is listening. Okay. It's, you know, it's one of the things that we kind of suffer with in this life is a feeling of being disconnected, you know, because so much of life is thinking and so much of life is operating up here, that we need practices, we need things that help remind us to kind of come back in and be connected in here. There's something that happens when we're able to kind of feel our body. Listening is expressed through where our attention goes, like to where we place our attention and what we're able to receive. Okay? So when I kind of drop my listening down, I'm tracking where there's points where my attention begins to kind of settle. Okay? And I can use those points of attention, okay, to then kind of bring me into a sense of my whole body. The second orientation is allowing, okay? The piece that kind of connects us to the river of life. Like if we can imagine that there's a river of life, like life is in motion, it is constantly moving, and there's a current to it. There's actually a current of movement to life. And we can practice aligning with that current. We can practice what it's like to allow life to be in the current, to allow what is happening to happen, to not resist what is happening, to remember and remind ourselves, and to practice in the movement the sensation of being inside of the current. Okay? It's a form of radical acceptance, of really allowing life to be. Allow it to be just as it is. It's not a matter of fixing it. It's not fixing it. It's just being with it, just being in it, okay? So the third orientation is opening. And this orientation is key to restoring the body to its natural state. Okay. We can imagine, like in movement, you know, like when you're able to kind of like release for a moment, what that's like in your system, what kind of restores in your system. Okay. So there's a way that the opening supports that, the restoring of our natural state. It also carries us further, you know, like it restores it, and it also supports like, it supports kind of going further in our journey. And as we do that, we notice that the opening creates space. So suddenly, when we're able to open the system, when we're able to open, we have access to a lot more space. And inside of that space, all sorts of new possibilities and new movements and what wants to happen has a space to like kind of be inside of. Because life, you know, naturally closes us down. Like there's no way that we can navigate what's happening in our world and walking in the streets of New York without some, you know, sense of this, okay? So the opening is just like, all right, my system, this body actually has the capacity to open. It's when we're able to catch that we have closed, because it happens all the time. There's something really valuable inside of this for us, though. Okay, if we can take it away from what's happening on the outside and tune into what's happening on the inside of us, we can use this moment to kind of explore and understand and inquire into what's actually happening. When I'm able to catch when I'm closed and not just react from being closed, when I'm able to catch it and be with it, it becomes really powerful. And for me, it becomes a big opening, because I am opening to that moment, to what is happening. And suddenly inside of that, it's like the orientations are inclusive. This is what I want to say. The orientations are inclusive of the opposite. So the allowing is inclusive of the resistance, and the listening is inclusive of the disconnect, and the opening is inclusive of the closing. Okay? So the moving towards is the fourth one. All right. So moving towards is the orientation that that calls us into presence. When I am able to move towards what is happening in any moment, in any movement, it calls me into presence. It calls me into what is actually happening in that moment. And therefore, I'm able to be inside of the moment, the here and now of the moment in a complete way. So this moving towards supports that meeting. It's like meeting life, meeting the moment, meeting the partner on the dance floor, meeting what is showing up in life, so that ultimately we really can lean into this something. You know, when something happens, whatever rises in our experience of life, we can use this orientation to move towards it, okay? Because everything in life is trying to serve us, is trying to inform us, okay? Life is an amazing teacher in this way, okay? So by holding this orientation, by utilizing this orientation, we can ride this. All four of these orientations kind of play together to carry us in this upward motion. I had something happen to me last week where my whole system closed. I had something really difficult happen and I didn't know what was happening. And it took me all of the orientations to just stay present with what it was. And it wasn't until I could finally kind of move towards that sensation that I actually began to contact what was happening for me. Okay. So I just want to put this in like a practical way. Like life is calling us. Life is showing us. Life is asking something of us. And the orientation of moving towards reminds us of that, of the beauty and the connection and what happens when we're able to meet life, when we're able to be with it. Okay. So I hope that you could feel a little bit in that of how these different orientations might be valuable for you in your life.